Hi, I'm Sam Sorbo. You've heard me talk about Mike Lindell, who I adore. You know, he's the inventor of My Pillow, and how that pillow has given me a good night's sleep that I need. In fact, I never knew how good I could sleep before I had my Pillow. Mike continues to roll out new offers on his products, and the latest one is on his towel sets. Towels aren't something you think about often. I never knew what I was missing until I tried the towels just last year. Now, you have all helped build My Pillow into the incredible company that it is today, and you've trusted Mike Lindell to give you a great night's sleep. Mike's now changing the game with his 6-piece towel set. The set's made with USA cotton, making it extremely absorbent, and yet still providing that soft feel you look for in a towel. The set comes with 2 bath, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths, typically retailing for $109.99. But for a limited time, you can get this set for the low price of $39.99. And that's using promo code Sam Sorbo. So remember, all My Pillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. You just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener specials to get this insanely low price of $39.99 on the towel set. You'll find deep discounts on other My Pillow products as well. So enter promo code Sam Sorbo, or you can call 800-625-5983. That's 800-625-5983 for these great radio specials. Hi, this is Sam Sorbo. I want to invite you all to join me at the Playbook for Home Learning Conference put on by Underground Education. There's a new community that started online called the Underground Education Community. You can find it by going to samsorbo.com. You can also find all the information about the conference, about how to approach education with your kids. Times are hard for parents right now. There's a lot going on in the schools that we don't like. But I'll tell you something, home learning is easier than you ever thought it could be and more fun than you ever imagined. So join me at the Your Playbook for Home Learning Conference this June 24-25 in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And we're going to have a great time. Go to samsorbo.com for more information on everything. I'll see you there. Hi there. Welcome to the Sam Sorbo Show. I'm joined by a very special guest. This woman is a recovering Hollywood professional. She actually manages conservative clients in the Hollywood community. And she had a silent partner known as Philip B Haney, who was a friend of mine. He passed away recently. And this is her first interview after managing him for several years and partnering with him. It's her first interview to talk about his passing and sort of what that portends and what that means. So welcoming me right now is Pele Haney. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Sam. This is Pele Leigh. And yes, I managed Philip over the years, over several years. And I really appreciate being on your program today. Thank you.
So how long was your relationship with Philip in terms of managing him?
Since 2016.
And why did you start managing him?
I started managing him because Francesca had come to me and she basically wanted Philip to be managed. She thought that he needed a manager, somebody that could, be a strategist, someone like me who came from a background in Hollywood, who actually was agented, herself. Basically, I was agented by a mid-lit, boutique agency in Hollywood. I was a writer. And with my background, I just, she actually thought it was good. She was actually looking at prospects, different people in public relations to manage Philip. And because he was such a public figure, he needed that kind of, help with his business acumen. And She
Right. So
thought that,
Philip, so to sort of recap for people, Philip was uh, ostensibly maybe the first whistleblower. He worked in the counterterrorism unit. He got a lot of information on a number of Islamic activists, and then was told by, as I recall, was told by the Obama administration to destroy those files. And then he decided to go public after the San Bernardino terrorist incident, which he claimed his information could have avoided if it had only been kept up to date and had been looked at and considered. And so he became very, very active after that in terms of allowing people to understand that the US government was not doing, not fulfilling its duty and actively actually undermining itself in many ways with regards to terrorism. So, and you came in shortly after that, I guess, to manage him, to try to negotiate getting his message out. Is that correct?
yes, exactly. I was going to be an advocate for him, an emissary, put out press releases for him, be an actual liaison between me and particular specific figures, big conservatives, conservatives that were working with the Trump administration, basically being a liaison, putting out proposals for him. Philip had 15 years of combined federal service, 40 years experience in the strategy and tactics of the global Islamic movement based in Quranic Arabic with strong parallel focus on counterterrorism. He had 30 years experience in international travel to 20 plus countries with particular emphasis in the Middle East. He had extensive testimony and briefings before the Senate and the House and before the Senate Judiciary Committee, June 28, 2016. He published more than 325 print articles and citations, both as a former scientist and in the counterterrorism and national security fields. I have all of those articles and citations. He was extremely meticulous and prolific in what he wrote and in what he spoke. And so I was going to be his advocate. I kind of shifted the paradigm. I mean, coming out of Hollywood, very well that there's managers and agents that agent celebrities, writers, directors, celebrities. And many of the conservatives that need managing or need a representative for them, they hire these liberal type of agencies. I mean, you're talking about, ICM and William Morris Endeavor, and companies that are antithetical, anti-God, and antithetical to our American way of life. And so
But
basically,
Pele, the assumption for conservatives is that it's all about the money. It's not show, it's show business, right? And so why would a manager or an agent, for that matter, take on a client that they didn't believe in, that they didn't believe they could make money? And then why would they maybe take them on and then not work for them and not try to get them jobs at least?
well, that's a question to be answered. And, I have over the years, I've pondered how the Hollywood establishment has basically garnered the attention of conservatives and even Christians. I mean, the liberal, Warner Music, took over Christian labels and Christian songwriting, Christian musicians to take over their career. So you have like conservatives, big time conservatives that were going to liberal agencies, to get some help with representation, with public relations, with managing them, which I don't understand why. There was people out there that needed to be taught to manage, taught to represent and agent, you know, Christians and conservatives. And there was very few out there that would do that. I mean, you've been in the Hollywood circles of, people. I mean, just in the past, like probably 15 years, you know, did even the Christians know that there was even Christians that were in Hollywood that had fellowships like the Media Fellowship, Hollywood Prayer Network, Mission Hollywood. I mean, I was the first person at my hometown and at my hometown church in Costa Mesa that even brought the idea of Christians going to LA and 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 advocating for evangelicals to tell the gospel in Hollywood. I mean, I was the first one who took the Hollywood Tribe movie, which had Ralph Winter, Leilani Downer, and a bunch of mentors and people who were who professed to be Christian and were helping Christians in Hollywood. And so, shifting the paradigm to actually help, conservatives and manage them, it's a shift in paradigms. I mean, people, there's very few firms out there that agent and manage Christians as well as political conservatives. I mean, the Wicker Group in San Francisco is only one of them. There's one firm that was a government liaison in Orange County, doing some good work. Other than that,
Yeah.
There's not many. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I kind of set you up with an ambiguous question, I suppose, because I have an answer, and the answer is the left is much more ideological typically than conservatives. And so while conservatives say, well, it's really just about the money, and so I'm going to hire whoever is correct for the job, leftists will say, I will never, ever flipping hire a conservative ever, and may they all rot in hell. It's a different, I don't care how much money I lose kind of mentality. It's a different mentality. And so for conservatives to enter and be represented by somebody who disagree, who disagree. Now, if you're quiet about it and they don't know, or even if they know, but they know that you're quiet, then they're willing to compromise a little bit. But rest assured, the staunch leftist will get the job before the marginal conservative every time if the hirer or the agent knows the politics that are involved. And yes, there are a lot of people in Hollywood who ostensibly don't care about politics, but we can't be so naive as to go by the old assumptions, which were, hey, business is business and politics is separate from that, because that's simply no longer the case. They've made it a different case. And so I'm advocating for you here, Pele. I think
Oh,
that
thank you. No, I
I think
understand.
that
Yeah.
you're onto something. But back to Philip, because Philip is why we're talking. And I interviewed
Yeah.
Philip a couple times, and or probably more than a couple times, and got to know him a little bit. And he really had a fervent heart. He believed in the mission of what he was doing and trying to save people's lives. And he died supposedly by suicide. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, that's not appropriate for anybody to say, including, the FBI or the Amador Sheriff County, Amador County sheriffs. basically, of course we expected all this. We expected them to do this because, it got taken over by the FBI, which is corrupt in it itself.
And
You
I'm going to
know,
pause you right there. I need to take a quick break and we will be
okay,
right back after. But I do want to talk to you about that because the FBI, once they got involved, we saw some different things. And so
right,
we'll get to that right after the break. My guest is Pele Leigh. She's former manager for the late Philip B Haney. Stay tuned. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. I'll be right back. We've discovered, my husband and I, a great American company that supports our traditional values and also the work we're doing to rescue our culture from the lies of the left. So I want you to go check it out. It's called NutraMedics.com. NutraMedics.com. And you can find there great health and wellness products that are derived from the rainforests. I've found that they work incredibly for me. I take their melatonin. I get a much better night's sleep with that. I also take their relax medics and their mood medics, which are, I don't know what they are, but they're this natural blend of herbs basically, and really easy to take. They actually droppers, and I just love their products and I love what they stand for because they have a heart for this nation and they have a heart for people. And I don't know how you would have one without the other. And that's why maybe they have both. But I just love what they do. So go to NutraMedics.com and you can actually go to sorbo.nutramedics, and that's with an X, sorbo.nutramedics.com. If you use Sorbo at checkout, you'll get a discount on anything that you purchase there. So go check it out, get a better night's sleep, get a better day, feel better about yourself. They've got a lot of great products there, including vitamins. I use them all. So trust me, it's great. NutraMedics.com. And thank you so much for listening. Welcome
okay,
back to the Sam Sorbo Show. My guest continues to be Pele Leigh. She's Philip B Haney's former manager, late Philip B Haney, sadly. And she's talking to us about his passing and the way that it was handled by the FBI. It was ruled a suicide with a great deal of questions surrounding it. Now, Philip had recently lost his wife to a long, protracted battle with, I believe it was cancer, right?
yes, it was
Yeah.
cancer.
But he had
Um,
recently started seeing someone. There was rumors that they were engaged or that they were planning to be engaged. He seemed to be a happy man. He seemed to be reasonably happy. And I believe he also told several people that if he died, it was definitely not suicide, which is kind of an odd thing to say, except for Philip. He feared for his life every day, I think.
yes, yeah, he did. I mean, anybody who goes against, the current day establishment and, the red green axis is yeah, is going to be a target. I mean, anybody who goes out there against the corrupt and wicked establishment is going to be a target, obviously. Him more so than, any other. Well, and all those that actually advocate for American life and the sanctity of American life. Yes, exactly. I think that though, you know, he was actually, I think him and Francesca, when when they both came to me, especially Francesca, I think that they were scared to tell me that they did have death threats, because I actually pointedly asked them in a written statement whether they were having death threats or not. And I think that they were afraid that I wouldn't manage them. I wouldn't manage him. And basically managing him was managing Francesca as well. Because, they both had issues, and me growing up, I heard from my mom, my grandfather, he actually worked on the atomic bomb. And my mom grew up with my grandma was paranoid. And, being
What did
that
your grandfather do on the atomic bomb?
he worked for the coal mines, and then he worked for Revere Copper and Brass, and then they hired him as an engineer to work on the atomic bomb. It was a part of the atomic bomb. He didn't know what he was working on at the time. I mean, any of those who gotten involved and recruited for that job did not know exactly what they were working on or the potential that the atomic bomb had. So my grandma, at that time, she was paranoid, of things. Well, Francesca, managing Philip was also managing Franny. And, basically, there comes these triggers, emotional triggers and issues that you have to deal with. I call them PTSD, kind of triggers, because of course, we're all human, and Philip and Franny were too. And there was things that when I asked them about death threats, they just didn't want to talk about it. And in a written statement, they said that they currently did not have any, which, I didn't believe, but I took it on anyway. And I myself didn't know the magnitude of what I was getting myself into. I don't think anybody does. I mean, and of course, no one would think that that something would happen to him. Of course, there was a potential for that to happen. It happened, there's a potential for that to happen to anyone working on Lindell TV, anyone working on, OANN. Any and all have had, harassment issues. I myself have had harassment issues. Things that openly we can't talk about sometimes. We can't, talk about certain things. I mean, basically those kind of things are for our counselor, our pastor, people closest to us, you know. And being a manager had all of the issues with it, along with being, a counselor, somebody who,
Yeah.
tries to identify strategy moves. And basically somebody, that I was always telling Philip not to go, on social media.
You were telling him
And
not to go on social media? Why?
yeah, I was telling him not to go on social media because at the time in 2016, there were operatives on Twitter. And I was on Twitter campaigning.
But why, if he has a message to get out, you weren't afraid of him being canceled off of social media. You told him not to go on it. But if he has a message to get out, how else is he supposed to get his message out?
Going across America and speaking at engagements and doing covert work. I never, ever, I myself, I'm not on social media. You can get the message out and do, as far as Philip's work, as far as anybody else goes, that's fine. Go on social media. But as far as Philip's work, I never advocated him to go on social media because he should be working covertly on things and secretly and, going dark on certain things. That's the only way that you can undermine the kind of situation that we've been in the last several years since 9/11
And
is
let's
actually.
talk about that briefly, because
Okay.
we're gonna run out of time.
Okay.
So you said the FBI got involved. His death was ruled a suicide, and you don't believe that.
Oh no, I have his files.
You have the
I,
FBI file?
no, I have some of his files, and I had to get it to the right people, and in government, in certain areas, in order to do the right thing, and in order to be able to prosecute, certain people in the United States that were undermining our constitutional republic. And the thing is, you know, I got some of those files out, and basically, and nothing was done about it. Nothing was done about it.
So you brought it to the attention of, did you go to, I don't know, did you Judicial Watch or any of the watchdog agencies that we have, the independent ones?
Yes, yes, I did, among others, and certain specific individuals. And I was already telling, people, of course, the narrative of the Senate Judiciary Committee, they had already, those that opposed Philip at the Senate Judiciary Committee, they were already setting forth the narrative that, white supremacists, that we were that we were white supremacists even from that day. The narrative was already struck. And on Twitter, I was attacked from the alt-right. I was screenshotting the alt-right operatives that were opposing Trump supporters on Twitter. I had actually taken a lot of those screenshots of the alt-right. You're talking about operatives like Microchip, Ricky Vaughn, and people that were on there at the time. The Trump supporters were trying to advocate for Trump. There was anti-Semitism going on. And we already knew that I already knew the red green axis was on Twitter, basically. And I was screenshotting all those, and I tried to bring them to Daryl Issa, and I was trying to talk to Paul Ryan and Dinesh D'Souza on Twitter. Some of them were listening to me, some of them weren't. But when I had actually brought those screenshots to Philip, when I actually started managing him, that's who he was researching, was the alt-right. The alt-right morphed from the Ku Klux Klan. They morphed into the new right. They were trying to get new leaders, since Richard Spencer was, wasn't doing what they wanted him to do. Basically, they all formed on Gab AI. And when Trump wanted an alternative solution to the social media, I was trying to we were trying to warn Trump not to get on Gab, because they had formed on Gab. And now they've actually hidden themselves, and they're amongst us. Of course, that's how they've infiltrated the Act for America groups and everything else. They're all part of the red green axis. The alt-right was. That was actually how they set themselves up. They set the Trump supporters up to be white supremacists. It was all back in 2016. It didn't start just recently. This started on 2016. It actually started way before that, when 4chan was created.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, we're running out of time, so I have to break in, and I'm going to have to, you know, sort of
Yes.
sum this up. So we miss Phil Haney. I don't know. I don't know what his legacy is doing now. Are you still promoting his works and doing anything like that?
Well, you know, I I've been doing some things that I don't speak about publicly. I have a slate of, people that I manage, political conservatives, Christians along the way. I do want to talk about our relational tenets of faith, because I think that, you know, that us as Christians and conservatives, we need to take care of each other, and that's not being done. And so all the while we're telling the Democrats, look, you guys are wicked, you're doing corrupt things. I think the church needs to be cleaned up in a way, because those people that said that they were helping Philip, that were Christians or conservatives, um, they weren't doing some things that were right, for Philip, on behalf of Philip. I went to Breitbart to ask Breitbart to, I sent a proposal to Breitbart 2016, 2017, for Philip to be hired, and he wasn't hired. They had hired a couple others. I'm not going to say their names, but you can figure it out. I'm the one who sent the proposal to Alexandra Preet, who was the right hand lady of Steve Bannon. And people promise Philip things that, when I tried to help Philip get his message out, there were Christians and conservatives that weren't helping us to do that.
Yeah, I
And
mean, look, it's a, we're all fraught with distractions and trying to just keep our eye on the ball. And Philip was somebody who worked tirelessly to get the message out, and he was somebody who had a great deal of knowledge. So unfortunately, it's always a struggle to get the message out. I was happy to have him on my show several times, actually, and I was always thrilled to chat with him. He was a wealth of knowledge. And so I want to thank you for the work that you did on his behalf and for the work that you continue to do. I've got to end it there. We've run out of time. Pele Leigh, thank you so much for coming on the program.
oh,
This is
thank
the
you,
Sarah
Sam.
Sorbo Show.